Before I get started, I wanted to give whoever's listening a little bit of insight on what this podcast is about. Almost everyone has gone through a breakup of some sort, whether that be a breakup with an ex-partner or an ex-friend. Breakups are obviously devastating and hard, but they shape us into the people that we are today. My hope for this podcast is to make you realize that you aren't alone when it comes to going through a breakup. You can get through it, and hopefully learn something from it at the end of the day. This is Obliterate Podcast. I'm your host, Christine Nikolic. If you have any questions, comments, thoughts, or feelings about me, my guest, or just the podcast in general, feel free to email me at obliteratepodcast@gmail.com, or you can follow us on Instagram at obliteratepodcast. My guest today is Mackenzie. She's originally from San Diego, she's a podcaster, and she loves to play soccer in her free time. In this episode, she talks about her college ex-boyfriend, her insecurities, and what she learned from this relationship. This is Mackenzie and the ex-boyfriend. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm doing good. So I'd love to learn more about you. Like, where are you from? What do you do for a living? All of that stuff.
So I'm originally from San Diego, California, obviously. Moved to New York for college, and then I was like, oh, I'm definitely going to go back. Like, I love the weather in San Diego. I hate the cold on winters in the East Coast. But I ended up finding a job, and I was like, in New York City, and I was like, I guess I'll just stay. So I'm currently in New York, but I'm actually back in California for quarantining purposes. And yeah, I work at a media ad agency as an executive assistant.
Do you think you'll be a lifer New Yorker, or are you kind of just like see where life goes kind of a thing?
I tell myself that I'm always going to move home, like the next year, but it looks like I'm in it for at least, I'll check in with myself for like in 5 years, but definitely don't want to, whatever the future holds, I don't want to raise a family in New York City. And also it's just really expensive. So whenever my bank account like runs out on me, I'll return home.
So what do you do in your free time when you're not in quarantine?
That's actually a really good question because quick story. People always ask, like, we have to do this like weird activity book for work. And they're asking for hobbies. And I was sitting there and I was like, I don't have like a hobby. Like, is day drinking considered like a hobby? Because that's literally what I do. But no, I'm actually a soccer player. So in New York, we had like co-ed leagues. And I was part of like a women's league. I love, just going to the gym when I can. It just helps with like my anxiety and stuff. And then I'm a weird nerd person. I love like editing videos, reading books, like binge watching shows on, Netflix. So
that's cool that you do a soccer league. That sounds really fun.
It was fun. Yeah, it was good. I used to be in shape and now I'm like, what is 90 minutes running up and down a field? That's hard. That's the struggle.
All right, cool. So who are you talking about today?
I'm talking about my ex-boyfriend in college. He was my first, I want to say, serious and real relationship.
Okay. Where did you guys go to college, and how did you guys meet?
We went to St. John's University in Queens, New York, and we met through mutual friends. Actually, it was like, we're all like, again, so since I play soccer, I met like kids that played soccer, and we all went to like the boys like not even varsity, but yeah, the boys varsity team game. And my ex-boyfriend was working like the sidelines at the time. And I remember just like hanging out with my friends and like we see him and I was like, oh my God, who is this man? He is beautiful. Then later learned that like my soccer friends were friends with him and, kind of weaved my way through my soccer guy friends to get to know him, and that's kind of how we met.
What was your first date? Did you ask him out or vice versa, or how did it start?
So that was like first semester, and then we were like friends, and he had a girlfriend at the time. And I was kind of dating this other loser at the time, but so we were just friends. And then second semester happened. This was like my sophomore year, and most of my friends went to study abroad, and so we were the only ones like kind of left still on campus, and we became like super close. And then one night we're all like going out drinking with our other friends, and get drunk, and then we made out that night, kept it PG, and then from then I think things are like different because I like obviously had like a huge crush on him, and then liquid courage. I was like, I don't really like you, and like all this stuff. So we hooked up that night, and then I don't even remember our first date. I think it was like it was like I think during a weekend he had like some extra credit assignment, and I had like this extra credit assignment that we had to go into the city to like I think some museum. So he was like, oh, you should come with me. And so we went to museum and hung out and went on. Yeah, that was pretty much it. It was super lame, but it was like a huge deal. Like, oh my God, it's happening.
I mean, I feel like in college, I don't remember any of my first dates, so I understand that. I feel like you don't really have first dates. It's kind of just like a hangout. So it sounds like you had a cool one at a museum. That's fun.
Yeah, I feel like it's very like New Yorkish. I don't know. I feel like an episode in Sex and the City. Like you go to the museum, you have this cute date.
So what was your relationship like?
My relationship, like our relationship was really, I think, fun. So, like I mentioned, this was, my first serious relationship. The guys that I kind of dated in the past, it was kind of like, just like, when you're younger, you kind of have a crush on a dude. And I don't know, I just feel like I really clicked with this person. And it was like also not just like, oh, I think he's really cute and like I'm in love with him, but it was like a friendship. So having that friendship, like, base to the relationship was very different from all my other relationships in the past. So it was like really fun, and we were super close and could act silly together, but also like be super romantic. So it felt like I had like everything into this, built into this one person.
Did it get serious pretty quickly?
Yeah, I would say so. I definitely was like I like when I fall for someone, I like fall for someone so fast. Like, so we started kind of hooking up, I think second semester, and then we were like exclusive throughout like the summer when I went back home to San Diego and he was in New Jersey. So I definitely was like not talking to anyone else in the summer. It was like only, talking to him. And at that point we weren't like boyfriend, girlfriend. We were just exclusive, but I felt it was very serious.
I feel like that is very common for first loves, is you fall super hard and you just like want to spend all your time with them. You want to get to know them so quickly and all that stuff. So that totally makes sense. How long were you guys together for?
We were together, I think like 2 years. So it was like pretty much my whole college. I feel like my whole college career, which no regrets, but I like kind of regret it. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. So it was like 2 years.
What are some of your favorite memories that you guys had together?
Oh, I think one of my favorite memories, we used to like use before we were like boyfriend girlfriend. We used to like study really late in like the study hall. This sounds so childish, but because it was like it was college. And we would just like stay late, like pretending that we had to study, but we'd like use that time to kind of like spend time together. And like I always thought that was fun. And then I studied abroad my like junior year, so he went to go visit me over spring break, and we went to Greece. And that was like I think one of my favorite memories of us like being in Europe together in like a very beautiful place. And we were just like driving around, having a good time, eating like Greek food. And then he came to San Diego for my 21st birthday, and like met all my friends, and I think that was also one of my favorite memories, is just because it's like this is my world, and he came into like my favorite place and was able to like go out drinking and have fun with my friends. So that was definitely one of my favorite memories.
Did all your friends and family like him?
Yeah, so during the relationship, they all were like, "Oh, he's great," and then after, they're like, "Yeah, we didn't really like him." And I was like, "I'm sorry, why couldn't you tell me that during the relationship? So like, you could have flagged that there were things that were wrong, but it's fine." So yeah, during it, my family, my friends, they did really like him.
That is super frustrating hearing that after the fact. Why did the relationship end? Like, kind of what was the trajectory of the relationship?
I like even before I think I got into this relationship, I like had a lot of I think insecurity issues, and I just wasn't healed from like my childhood, and I my parents were divorced, so there's like a lot of I think trauma there, and a lot of insecurities and issues with my own self. And I think obviously I thought I was like all healed and nothing was wrong from that. And so when I got into this relationship, I brought in a lot of, I think, unhealthy and toxic things to the relationship. And obviously, I think, relationships take two people. So, I mean, I don't think both of us were really healthy, but especially me, like I was I want to say toxic person. I felt like I expected him to love me the way that I should have loved myself at the time. And expected so much from him. Kind of, I know that I was very codependent on him. And especially being so young like that, it's not fair for me to have expected that or asked him to, be there for me the way that I need to be there for myself. But so, yeah, that was going on. And then I think just a lot of like long distance. So I mentioned I studied abroad, and like that was hard because I was in Rome and he was in New York, and we like talked every day while I was abroad, and like that's obviously like not healthy, right? Because like you need space, but like my friends were like, you and this person talk a lot to each other, and I was like, you guys are just jealous because I can talk to him anytime and we never run out of things to say. But yeah, that's really unhealthy. There was like no space, to be on your own. So we did like a lot of long distance abroad, and that was really hard. And I was dealing with like a lot of like depression and anxiety that I didn't even know that I had at the time, and he like wasn't really understanding that. And then also, so he was studying like accounting, which in school, like you have like a clear path of what you're going to do. Like you take these classes, and then, you graduate and you can like get your master's and then take the CPA, and then you're an accountant and you have a job and you're set for life. And for me, like I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And I think he didn't like, I don't know, he just made me feel like I wasn't like good enough because I didn't know what I was doing with my life. But it's like, I'm only 20. I don't know what you want from me, but okay. So like, I just felt that pressure and like I wasn't good enough. And so we kind of, clashed a lot on that. And, I myself didn't even, I never felt like I was enough. And so I just feel like that was, affecting our relationship. And in study abroad, okay, I'm a horrible person, but I cheated on him while I was, while I was away. And so that obviously like, put a dent in our relationship. And it was kind of hard to recover from that, but we slowly we knew that it wasn't really working. But we tried as much as we could to, mend it and work it out. But I think we were just really still like immature, and I just had like a lot of issues to work through. And I started seeing a therapist while I was abroad. And I thought that would like help. But, just slowly we just were like, this isn't working out. And yeah, I think we just wanted different things, and I think that I wasn't what he wanted anymore. And that sucked. It just sucks to I just felt like I put so much in this relationship, and besides obviously the cheating, but I put so much in this relationship, and I just felt like I didn't get what I wanted in the end.
So first of all, you're not a horrible person for cheating. Like shit happens. It's not like the best thing to do, but it doesn't mean that you're a terrible person. Like it happens. I've been there. I was gonna ask about the long distance, like how that worked for you guys, because it did sound like you guys were back and forth for a lot of your relationship. Like you were both living in different places. Like how was that for you, and how was the talking like every day? Did you guys kind of, I guess, have a schedule? Like how did that all work?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. So we didn't have a schedule, and so it was mostly like, so when I was like in the summer when I was in San Diego and he was in New Jersey, I would like we would just like text all the time and like Snapchat all the time, Instagram each other all the time, and like call each other like when I'd come home from work or like FaceTime. So it wasn't like we had like a set schedule. It was just like, oh, if you're available right now, like why wouldn't you not be talking to me, or or vice versa. So I think it was very obviously unhealthy because you don't have that space to like live your own separate lives. And I also am just a jealous person and I suffer from like FOMO. So just like being apart is really hard because I'm like, oh, I'm missing out on like your whole life and who else is there that's like enjoying it, and like that's not fair. Um, so yeah, it wasn't like the best. I hate long distance. I'll never do it again. But knowing what I know now, but yeah, it definitely wasn't like a good situation when we were apart.
Did you guys have like a conversation before you left that you were gonna like keep being together, or like did you guys have kind of a plan for your life? Like, did you think that he was the end all be all for you?
Yeah, so when I was going to we like when I talked about, hey, I'm going to study abroad, in my head I was like, oh, like it's a given, we're going to stay together, like why would I not stay with this kid, like I love him so much. And like I kind of brought it up. I was like, hey, like my other friend was also going to study abroad, and she and her boyfriend actually broke up too when she was going abroad, and I like told him about it, and I was like, but I don't want to do that, like I really, I love you and I want to keep this relationship. And he like agreed and was like, yeah, I'm like so glad that you want to keep this relationship while you're abroad, like it's definitely going to be hard, but I think we can do it. But we did, so yeah, we did long distance and we like called all the time, and then we also kept like a blog to like write each other, which was I guess kind of cute. So we kept like a blog that we'd like write letters or like, yeah, a little blog post every day on like what I did and what he did. That was like on top of like texting every day. So we did that. And I think in my head, just because I've dated so many losers and got my heart broken so many times, I was like, this is the end be all. Like, I don't want to have to go through another heartbreak. Like, I think I found the one. And I feel like he loves me too, and I think we can make this work. And I recognize that like we were super young at the time, like this was like, yeah, I'm 20 or 21, and I was like, but I wanted to, I guess, make it work just for, I don't know, maybe if it's out of like convenience or just like, yeah, this is, I think this would be a great cute story to tell my kids, like I fell in love with your dad at like 19 and now the rest is history.
No, I get that. Yeah, I mean, I feel like no matter what age you are, if you're meeting someone that you're in love with, you think that it's going to be the person that you spend your life with. Yeah, I think that's how relationships are usually. You were kind of mentioning how you feel like you were toxic. Can you kind of go into that and why you think that way?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, like I grew up, my parents got divorced when I was 12, and it wasn't, so my relationship with my dad wasn't like the healthiest. He wasn't a really great person. And so I think I just had like a very, very bad mindset, just about like myself and how I viewed love and what relationships look like, just because what I saw with my parents' marriage, it was just very like toxic in itself. And so like I didn't have anything to model after, like, oh, what a healthy relationship looks like support and love and space and not like jealousy and not like competing against each other. In my family, like it was either like super high or super low in the relationship. So it wasn't like a very constant thing, and I didn't like, that's what I saw. And so I think those were my toxic traits of like being super jealous and being very insecure. And like I also didn't know that I was, had like anxiety and like depression. And so I'd get in these moods and expect him to like kind of, I like depended on him a lot to kind of like bring me out of that and not really like depend on myself. And I constantly like needed his like validation. And I think obviously like in relationships, like you have certain needs, but mine, like it was, yeah, I just needed him to carry me through everything. And again, that's not what a healthy relationship is. And especially trust, I didn't trust him. And obviously I didn't trust myself. And he had also like a lot of friends that were girls, and he like would never introduce me to them, even though I was like, hey, like I would love to meet your friends. Like I know they mean a lot to you, and like it'd be awesome if you like, introduce me to like your friends. And he never did. So obviously from that, I'm like, okay, that's sketchy, and I don't trust you. Like this one night, he came home drunk and off. Okay, so he came home drunk and like he passed out, and I took his phone and read his text messages because I'm psycho. And he was like, drunk texting his girlfriends, and he was like, I love you so much, and he was like telling them how much he like loves them and stuff. And I was like, that was to me, I was like, whoa, this is weird. Obviously, like I don't even receive your drunk text messages, so like I'm kind of hurt by this. But yeah, so he did some sketchy stuff, I obviously did sketchy stuff, so it wasn't the best relationship.
So, you cheated on him when you were in Greece?
When I was, yeah, so I studied abroad in Rome, but
Rome, sorry.
yeah, and then we went to Greece together. But yeah, I cheated with him while I was in Italy. I don't know why I'm laughing. It's like coping mechanism.
So was that kind of what broke you guys up?
Okay, so I didn't tell you the worst part, but basically I cheated on him, but I didn't tell him. And what happened was I like hooked up with this dude in the club, and like my friend came and like ripped me away from him, and she's like, what the fuck are you doing? And like, I'm drunk, she's drunk, and I was like, what the fuck? And so they're like, you need to go tell him right now, like go tell your ex-boyfriend what happened. And I was like, sure. So like I pretended to call my ex-boyfriend to tell him, and I didn't. And then what happened was he found out later, I think months later after, and he found out by like looking through my phone. So yeah, so it wasn't the best because I didn't have the courage to tell him that what I did that night. So he ended up finding out from looking through my phone. So that's what happened, and it was really bad. It was obviously bad, but I think that was part of the reason why we broke up. I don't think it was like, it wasn't like he found out and then he's like, okay, we're done. It was like I was literally like crying and being like, please take me back. Like, I'm so sorry. I don't want us to break up. And he was like, okay, fine. But I think by that point, maybe we both knew it wasn't going to work out, but yeah.
When did things start getting bad? Like, was it before the cheating, or like when did you feel like things were kind of falling apart?
Good question. I think things were getting bad. I think at the peak of like him finding out that I cheated. So I came back for the fall semester, and I think things are just different. I feel like I missed out a lot on his other semester, and he moved off campus to move home actually. And his home is in New Jersey, so he would like commute to the city, and then he would commute to on campus. So we barely saw each other, and we saw each other like on weekends. And he, at that time, he was also studying for his CPA exam, which is like 4 really difficult, test for his like accounting, I don't know, accounting certification. And so like, it was his senior year, it was like my, I think junior year or senior year or something, I don't remember. But I was like obviously out partying and wanted to have fun with him and, spend time with him. But he was just like busy studying and trying to get ready to graduate, and he was commuting. So I think during that time, we were just kind of on 2 different places already, and we weren't communicating.
What did it feel like just kind of knowing that you did that? And like, did you think about it all the time, or did you kind of just like put it away in like a hidden box and not think about it as much as you could?
Yeah, so I definitely am like really hard on myself, and I was like, obviously when this happened, I was like, this is the worst thing ever. I'm a terrible human. And then actually because I cheated, so I'm Catholic, and I went to like confession, and I was like telling the priest about it, and he wasn't like helping me in any way. I was like, okay, this is pointless. And so then I started actually going to therapy while in Italy. And yeah, I started therapy because of me cheating, because I was like, okay, I'm definitely fucked up in the head and I need to figure out what's going on. So I definitely felt really bad, but I guess not bad enough to tell him.
I mean, I don't know if this makes you feel any better, but I did basically the same thing to my ex-boyfriend of 4 years. I like made out with someone on vacation and never told him.
Was he on vacation with you, or were you guys like?
No, I was on a vacation with a friend. And yeah, I never told him. We like broke up a few years ago and he never knew. But
Oh, even still to this like day.
even till this day.
Good for you. Good for you. No, I'm kidding. I'm sorry. I'm joking.
No, my excuse in my head was he hadn't said he loved me yet, so I was like,
Okay,
nothing,
yeah,
nothing counts until you say I love you.
That's
my excuse, which is pretty fucked up.
No, it's so fucked up. But honestly, my friend was like, okay, did you guys, it's like been less than 6 months, right? So it doesn't really count. And I was like, okay, that kind of makes me feel better. So it is still fucked up, but I totally feel you on that because I was thinking the same thing. Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, it just shit happens. I feel like clearly he wasn't the right person for you. I mean, even though it's a horrible thing, and I hope you learned from it. Like I know I did. So
yeah, definitely learned from it. Never again.
Matters. Yeah, never again.
Never again.
Was it a hard relationship to get out of? / like, can you explain the breakup?
Yeah, so I think it was like now November. We were like on a rocky, I think not doing well, and he told me, because I spend Thanksgiving there because, it's too expensive to fly home. So his parents are also divorced, and they were going to Pittsburgh because his mom has like cousins there, and like that's where most of his family is. So his mom invited me to go to Thanksgiving with them, to spend Thanksgiving with them. And this was like in the beginning of the semester. But as it got closer, like literally it happened on Sunday. He came to like my soccer game, and then, we were walking back to campus. And he was like, hey, so like, what are you doing for Thanksgiving? And the Thanksgiving was literally that Thursday. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm going to be with you. And he was like, yeah, I just been thinking like, it's a lot, I just feel like there's a lot of pressure because, no one has ever met my family in Pittsburgh. And so I just feel like this would be like really weird. And I was like, what the fuck? So I was like so confused. And so I like cried about it and was like, really angry with him. And then I called my mom, and she was like, okay, I'm going to fly you home to San Diego for Thanksgiving. And I was like, it was super last minute. So ended up being home in San Diego. And I think being away from him, I was like, okay, things aren't working. And like, I went to go see my friends, and like, we had like a wine night with all my girls, and like we cried, got drunk. And I think the truth came out about how shitty this relationship was. And everyone's like, Mackenzie, nothing is working and you need to like get out of it. And I think that's when I realized that like, okay, this is the start of, the breakup. And he wasn't really calling me during Thanksgiving. And then I think he did like after Thanksgiving, and we got in this huge fight. And then I got so mad, and like I was so dramatic and so extra that I went through my Instagram and I like deleted all our pictures together. So that was pretty much like, okay, this is the end, right? The start of the end. I like deleted all our pictures. And then when I flew back, for the rest of the semester, he was like, I saw you deleted the pictures. Like, we're not even broken up, but like, how could you do that? And I was just like really mad and hurt. And then I think he came over like the weekend before finals, and we were just like laying there together on the bed. And I was like, I think we should break up. And he was like, yeah, I think we should. And then after we like talked it out, cried, whatever, he was like, I'm really sorry that I had to break up with you. And I was like, what? I broke up with you. Okay, I was the one that initiated this conversation, but whatever, have it. So literally the worst weekend of my life, and I was stressing out, but I ended up doing really well in my finals. So yay for me. It was a very slow, I think, process, the breakup, because it kind of lagged on, and I don't think any of us wanted to do it, or I certainly didn't want to, but I think obviously it was the right choice.
What were you guys even fighting about? Like, what led up to it?
The main issues were, I think he was graduating, so he was like, what are we going to live together? What's like our expectation? Are we supposed to get married? So I think he put like a lot of pressure on all that, and I was like, what the fuck? I didn't even ask for any of this, but okay. So I think he had like a lot of pressure on that. He just, and like during the breakup, he also was like, what are you even going to do with your life? So I think that also, that having that conversation, or that being one of like a factor of like, things we fought about, was like, I, didn't have a fucking direction in school, or didn't know what I was going to do for the rest of my life. Like, fucking sue me. Sorry. So we fought a lot about that. We fought a lot about like trust issues, the whole cheating. just about like, yeah, I think we also fought a lot about like my anxiety, and he just never understood that, but also like I didn't understand, what that meant to me either. So yeah, those are the things we kind of fought about, and like trust issues, which makes sense. And I think, yeah, we were on different like wavelengths. I was still in college and he was about to like enter the working world, and he thought he was like hot shit, and I was just some college girl that was like, I still don't know what I'm gonna do with my life, but like, hello, it's fine. And he was like, no, it's fucking not. You're like a loser. So
I mean, like, no one knows I feel like if you have like a set major like accounting, like, yeah, you're going to be an accountant usually, but like, just because, I don't know, that's frustrating to me to hear that he was that obsessed with you knowing exactly what you're going to do with your life. Like, no one does. So once you guys finally broke up, was it kind of like, did you guys just stop talking, or was there sort of like a back and forth for a while?
there definitely was a back and forth for a while, like before I like flew home, before like the semester ended, and I, flew home for winter break. And even in the in between, we like didn't hook up or anything. It was just like we were still like calling and like crying about like still wanting to be together. And then like we met up one time and we were like fighting all the time, and I was like, okay, this is not gonna work out. And then once I flew home to winter break, I blocked him on everything. So we didn't like talk until he like tried to reach out to me via text, I think like in the spring semester, and I was like, please don't ever talk to me. I mean, I didn't say that, I just never responded. And then I saw him at like graduation because my friends were also a year above. He was a year above us. So I went to their graduation and we saw him, and like I said hi to his family, and that was like really it. And he was like, oh, how's everything going? Like, are you like looking for a job right now? Like, what's going on? I was like,
Oh
are we
my
still
gosh.
having this conversation? Like, I'm gonna go jump off a bridge. Please don't talk to me. But yeah, it was like it was a clean slate for me. I was just like, because I don't know, I just feel like it works better for me when I'm just like, I just need to cut off people, and maybe like that's not a good thing, but I definitely just had to cut off the whole relationship.
I mean, I think whatever works for you is how it should be. Like, I think it'd be hard to be best friends with any ex. I can't imagine that.
Yeah, I don't know how people do that. I'm like, what? Like, because obviously there's still part of you that's like, obviously you don't love them, but there's still part of you that will always will. I don't know if that makes sense,
Oh, it
but
totally makes sense. Were you guys friends with the same people in college?
yes, and his really good friend was actually dating my really good friend. Yeah, so it was like the four of us that were kind of like dating each other. Um, but yeah, it's weird that he didn't really keep in touch with like my friends. So
So how does it feel knowing that you probably will never be like close with him again? Slash maybe never see him again.
yeah, so I think obviously when the breakup happened, and I was like, I still go to therapy, but I was in therapy and I was like reading this breakup book that my brother got me, and I think at that time, like a few months later after the breakup, like it really hit me that like I'll never be with him again, I'll never be in his home, I'll never be with his family again. I think all those memories that we built over the years, I think that really hurt me and like made me really sad. But now that I've, kind of moved on and, have other things in my life, right now, I don't feel anything for it. I'm like, that's great. I think it was all, like, I'm very grateful for the relationship, and I'm so glad that it happened when it happened, because I've learned so much about me. And I think the reason why I'm in therapy and want to get better was because this relationship like highlighted all those scars and wounds that haven't been healed. So it doesn't make me sad anymore that I like will never see him, but I'm very grateful that we had that time in that relationship, because I've grown so much from it, and it helped me, start therapy again, and my mental health, and wanting to be like a good partner to, my current boyfriend, and to whoever, future relationships as well.
That's so good. I'm glad to hear that. Do you feel like this relationship, because you were saying that you were like pretty insecure in this relationship, do you feel like because you know that you were that in that relationship that you've kind of grown from that and you feel less insecure in your current relationship?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, so definitely I'm not as insecure. I think I'm a lot like mentally healthy right now at this point. I still struggle with like, self-image and feeling like I'm enough, but knowing like that I have the tools to kind of like help me deal with that, and having like a really good partner, to kind of like really see me and understand me, I definitely do know that I still struggle with it, but it's just I think I'm in a better headspace, and because I have a better like healthier partner as well, it's not as, I think, bad to deal with.
No, that makes sense. And yeah, I feel like those insecurities are always like gonna be there,
Always
sadly.
there. Yeah, lurking. Just like
Yeah.
lurking, just hanging around.
But I'm glad you have a good partner that seems like he understands you, and yeah, that's great.
Thank you. And a good therapist. Thank you to my therapist. The real winner of this relationship is my therapist.
Do you have any advice for people who are in a similar situation to what you were in?
I think my advice would be, don't be so hard on yourself. Like it takes two people to kind of it takes two people to be in a relationship and two people to kind of maintain it. And I always like put the blame on me. Like every day I was like, it's just me. I'm like the horrible one. But it takes two people to tango. And, I think if you're struggling, I think with who you are and you're not getting that from your partner, like you have to remember, like you have to love yourself first. And I know people say that, it's like so cliche, but like I said earlier, like you can't expect a partner to love you the way that you need to love yourself. And it really just stems from like loving yourself. And if you can love yourself, then you can definitely love other people. So if you're struggling with that, then I think, and you don't feel like you have a good partner, like you need to take care of yourself first, because ultimately like no one else will. And that's kind of my advice, and I hope that helps.
Did you date someone, like, did you take some time for yourself after this relationship?
Yes, I did. I had like a full year of, obviously, like I mentioned, therapy. I'm sorry I keep mentioning it, but it's so great. I had a full year of that. I had a full year of like, those drunk nights you don't remember. You just like not slut it up, but like, those fun nights where you're just with any person in the whole entire world. But I feel like, you need that. So I definitely had that time to like be with myself also. And yeah, I definitely had, I think, a good amount of time, a full year.
That's great. How do you think this relationship shaped you into the person you are today?
Like, how would you answer that, I guess, from your past relationships, if that makes sense? Yeah.
Um, I guess from my most recent one, I feel like it made me realize that my wants are just as important as my partner's wants.
That's so good. I wish I could steal that. I'm gonna copy and paste that. Same. That's actually really good. I love that. Yeah, that you're just like, I'm just as important. And yeah, oh my God, you said it perfectly. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. I'm glad so what's your life like now? You said you have a partner. Like, how is that going?
Yeah, so I guess with my relationship currently, I think it's healthy, at least healthier than my past relationship. But I just feel very, I think, seen in that relationship. Like the person, loves me for me and not the idea of me or what that person's expecting of me. And even though I like got fired, I like had to go home between like in our relationship and figure out what I wanted to do, and I was like working 5 part-time jobs while we were together. Like even when I was like a mess like that, um he still like loved or loves me like through that process, and he's like very supportive, and it's like, wow, that's so different, because I don't feel like I have to like have my whole life together and like be an accountant and be like I have it all together. But like even through like the mess and the process, he's still like, I still choose you and I see you, and I'm supportive of whatever you do. So right now it's going great, knock on wood. Obviously there's still like challenges in every relationship, and we're still like growing and getting to know each other, but we were quarantining together for like 5 months, so we didn't want to kill each other. I mean, we made it out alive. But it's good, and I'm looking forward to the new year with him, just continue to grow and learn more about him. And I'm learning to kind of like test my boundaries too when like I feel anxious or feel jealous sometimes, like able to kind of communicate to him that and to kind of communicate my needs, because that's, you know, kind of hard, because I'm like, you know, I still struggle with like, oh, am I too needy, stuff like that. But it definitely is a very, I think, rewarding relationship, and as of right now. But yeah, I'm looking forward to continue to grow and continue to kind of push those, you know, I think my own boundaries and insecurities about myself with this relationship.
That's amazing that you feel seen and that you feel comfortable enough to like tell him about your insecurities. I feel like that sounds like you have a really good relationship.
Thank you.
I think the main takeaway I'd like everyone to have from this episode with Mackenzie is to be seen in your relationship. Most people have insecurities and doubts about themselves. In order to be loved fully by a partner, it's very important to show those insecurities in your relationship. It's a scary thing, but if you're with the right person, they won't care about your flaws and will hopefully help you work through them. I'd also like to mention that Mackenzie has a podcast about mental health, relationships, and how to see yourself called Where You At Podcast, and I think you should check it out. Obliterate Podcast is produced by me, Christine Nikolic. Special thanks to Diala for providing the theme music. Please follow Obliterate Podcast on Instagram. And if you have any questions, feedback, or are interested in being a future guest, feel free to email me at obliteratepodcast@gmail.com. Please like, subscribe, comment, and share this podcast with your friends and family. And thanks so much for listening. My name's Christine Nikolic, and this is Obliterate Podcast.